This is the game industry right now. Studio closures and layoffs every other day, games with massive $100 million budgets and impossible sales expectations don't sell. Meanwhile, crunch culture is worse than ever and games get released in unplayable states. What the heck is going on? Let's start at the beginning. Before the wheel and fire and most importantly the internet, there were video games on cartridges. But not these cartridges. No, real robust cartridges that you had to blow and spit on to get them to work. And that's how you know it's a quality product. But listen, this was a magical time, the golden era of gaming. You bought a game and it would just work. No patches, no downloads after the fact. How the heck did they do it? But that time is long gone. We've all played the worst of the worst. Cyberpunk 2077, which ran worse than Elon Musk's Twitter rebrand. Or how about No Man's Sky? Subtitled The Great Redemption Story of Modernkind. But before that, subtitle, it used to be crap. Problem 1. Games are an unoptimized mess. Just the other day, I figured let's boot up Jedi Survivors, another game that launched in a legendarily bad state. I'm sure EA has gotten their shit together by now. That game launched in 2023. They wouldn't just leave a $100 million game out in the rain to die. I understand that this is a bit more complicated than this. But come on, how do we explain Baldur's Gate 3? That an indie developer like Larian, granted a pretty big one, can figure out how to bring one of the most complex semi-open world games that have ever been created to the market without all that nonsense. I mean, look at this beauty. Now look at this. Beautiful, not so beautiful.
What the hell is even that?
And I know the game had some problems at launch, but they did it right. Although, to give EA some credit, Split Fiction is the bomb. But look back one game further, and what do we have? Problem 2. Live service games. Dragon Age the Veilguard. This was going to be the comeback story for BioWare. Their glorious return into the light. Time to finally bring them in from the cold wastes they've resided in since Mass Effect Andromeda. Well, an 8.2. The critics seem to like it alright. But what is this? 3.9? Well, something went wrong somewhere. The only explanation I can think of is that video game journalists just have better tastes than us peasants. But I mean, what did EA expect? See, here's what happened. Ah, yes, development peasant. You screwed us with Anthem. So that other one, what's it called? Dragon Age?
No, Dragon Age.
That one's going to be a live service now. But it's a single player.
A few years later.
Good news on the live service Dragon Age game, sir. Yes, that's not going to work. We need it to be single player again. What? Of course that didn't work. Even now, after a bunch of updates, and to be honest, I kind of like the game, it feels like a freaking live service game. Just all empty and sad. Look at the difference. Here's Baldur's Gate 3 again. And our live service Dragon Age. It's just such a difference. See, execs are like toddlers with a remote control. He knows he shouldn't have it, but he just can't help himself. I mean, look at live service in the last year. Concord.
Fatality.
Payday 3.
Brutality.
Suicide Squad The Justice League.
Banality.
And I get it, purely from a business perspective, if you do finally reach those upper echelons with Fortnite, PUBG or Destiny, you've made it. Gold will be raining from the skies and all your problems will vanish forever. In exchange, of course, for your good name and reputation. So how exactly are we making money on this? Well, I'm going to need you to make the game extra grindy. And then what? Well, then they pay us the level, of course. But here's the problem.
It's the biggest piece of dog that I have ever heard.
Everybody's done with live service games at this point. It's saturated. There's a few big ones out there, and of course the occasional hit, but by and large, it's saturated. Problem statement 3. AAA budgets are out of control. Check this out, this is scary. Final Fantasy Rebirth, underperformed. Star Wars Outlaws, underperformed. Dragon Age the Veilguard, underperformed. And what all of these games have in common is CEOs with massive yachts and also giant budgets. The budget of the modern AAA game is bigger than most movies. Final Fantasy Rebirth reportedly had a development budget close to $200 million. If you are counting, that's the original Terminator times 12, adjusted for inflation, and you'd still have enough money to make me a millionaire 8 times over. What's scary is that this is not out of the ordinary. Any of the recent Call of Duties cost between 6 and 700 million to develop. Cyberpunk, 441 million. Spider-Man 2, 315 million. And even Baldur's Gate 3, which had a quite modest budget for modern day standards, cost 100 million to develop. These are some crazy numbers. And it makes some sense. Like we all know, games are more complicated than ever to make. Gone are the days of say hello to the days of hold shift plus forward plus A and hit enter. But due to these massive budgets, we also get more of this. Here's a little story for you. I was in the mood for a shooter the other day, so I picked up Far Cry 6. It's literally the exact same game as Far Cry 3 from 2012. End of story. And people wonder why Ubisoft's in trouble. Assassin's Creed, Rainbow Six, they've been re-releasing these games year after year. Ubisoft's especially guilty of this, but take a look through your Steam library and see what your most recent AAA games are. Here are a few of mine. Civ 7, Assassin's Creed 573, aka Shadows, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Monster Hunter Wilds, technically Monster Hunter 37, Spider-Man 2, and Final Fantasy Rebirth. I love all these games, but there's not a single new IP in there. Combine that with the bossman's unrealistic sales expectations and you have a recipe for disaster. A game nowadays needs to sell millions of copies to break even, which is unrealistic for many games. There are only so many gamers to go around. Take Alan Wake 2 for example. This critically acclaimed game from Remedy was released in 2023 and only earlier this year sold enough to become profitable. That's insane, that's one of the best games I've ever played.
Problem 4. Remakes and re-releases and re-releases and re-releases.
This is closely related to our problem above. We are in the midst of the era of remakes and re-releases. Final Fantasy VII, Donkey Kong Country, Age of Mythology, System Shock, Persona 3, Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, Tomb Raider 4-6, Xenoblade Chronicles X, Suikoden 1 and 2 Remastered, and the list keeps going. I love replaying all these titles, but are we maybe relying a little bit too heavily on our feelings of nostalgia? I mean, it clearly works. My library just keeps growing and growing.
I'm super cereal.
The only original and truly interesting games I'm playing nowadays are indie games. $60? And it's not just me who feels this way. Year over year, indie game releases have increased to more than 4 times that of 2015. Again, innovation sells. Back to you, big gaming studio. What do you have to say for yourself?
Shut down Arcane Studios now!
What the heck, Microsoft? That's your most creative gaming studio. But it's not just Microsoft. Sony, layoffs. Warner Bros, layoffs. EA, Embracer Group, Epic Games, Take-Two. Heck, even Unity Technologies got hit. The industry has been in a downward spiral. That is, all except for one big company. Yes, Nintendo is still standing. For all of its faults, because let's be honest, Nintendo has quite a few, their willingness to take risks and bank on innovation has saved them time and time again. 2004. The GameCube versus Xbox and PlayStation. Things were not looking great for Nintendo. The Cube was underpowered compared to the Xbox and couldn't compete with the way more popular PS2. Nintendo was dying. So they innovated and came up with the Wii, one of Nintendo's best-selling systems, drawing in both gamers and filthy casuals alike. Look at that stock flying sky high. But oh no, what is this? The Wii U in 2012. Nintendo was dying, but they thought to themselves, okay. And out they came with the Switch, the all-time best-selling console for Nintendo. Oh, but wait, what's that? Another contender. Is that a Nintendo DS? Yes, people, you heard it here first. The Nintendo DS sold even more. Another innovative Nintendo system. The NES, the 3DS, all groundbreaking systems where Nintendo was
willing to take the hits.
Innovation is where it's at. Nintendo shows this time and time again. And the rise of the indie games and the fact that every other big gaming studio is floundering speaks volumes.
Problem 5. What the heck happened to Bulletstorm?
So, you want to make out? Just 2 hardened dudes sitting in an elevator snuggling out their woes in a totally hetero way? Ha! There's a nervous chuckle.
If that doesn't make the case for AA games, I don't know what will. AA games are the best thing to have ever happened to gaming. Big game studios, plus medium-sized budgets, plus risk-taking equals gaming heaven. Think samurai robot ninjas, stray cats in post-apocalyptic worlds, or this guy. AA's give big game studios the chance to let their hair down and live a little, which leads to innovation, cheaper games and unexpected breakout hits, aka good for everybody. And there are of course many other problems to why the video game industry is in the slumps. Like this. I mean, why? Why can't we just have our pretty women in games, huh? Come on. There's crunch culture, then there's the bane of my existence, the main reason I have so many games in my library with this tag, early access, and lastly, of course, everybody's favorite, loot boxes, seasons, battle passes and microtransactions. But for me personally, I can look past all that. If we could just please get back some innovation. Enough with the re-releases and Call of Duty 237. Just give me that creative AA game and I'm all set, man. Anyways, what do you think? Also, check here for all the best XCOM-like games and here for the Claw 8 review, a pretty sweet handheld. And I hope to see you in the next one.